Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Recipes All Day with Dr. O'Day. Today I'm going to be making a chicken carbonara cup recipe. This was one sent to me by a student in my Statistical Methods in Psychology class named Alesandra Campidelli. And Alessandra said that there wasn't too much of a backstory here. It was just something that she made one time, loved it, and ever since has been making it with and for her family. And so today I'm going to be trying this one out and we'll see how it goes. Please make sure to hit that like and subscribe. And again, let me know if there's anything that you'd like to see coming up or if you have any questions on this recipe. So the first thing that we're going to do is just cut up some bacon here. We're using about 6 strips of bacon. However, I also actually tripled the recipe with all of the other ingredients. Unfortunately, I didn't have quite enough bacon to triple it, but I did have some bacon bits on hand that I also supplemented with a little bit here. And by the way, don't triple this recipe. It makes a ton if you do that. That being said, if you want some leftovers, go ahead and do this. So once we get that bacon cooking, we're going to skin and cut the bone off of a couple chicken breasts. Then we're going to go ahead and get the spaghetti going. So I just put this whole container of spaghetti in there. The recipe calls for 4 ounces. Again, I'm tripling, so this was about 12 ounces. You see with one hand, I'm having a little bit of trouble getting that spaghetti down into that boiling water, but you're just cooking the spaghetti according to the package directions. What I would suggest actually before you do this is probably breaking the spaghetti into thirds or halves. While that spaghetti water is going there, we're just going to get some oil heated up in a pan. We're going to throw the chicken in there. So I've already got that chicken all deboned, deskinned, and we're going to go ahead then and put that into this pan. We're just going to pan fry that until it's nice and cooked up. I might also consider grilling this and then cutting it up after that. But however you want to get this chicken ready, the recipe calls for, cooked chicken at this point. So, however you want to do this, I chose today just to throw it in the pan and just fry it for a little bit until it was done. Make sure that you're stirring that consistently. I also seasoned it with a little bit of Cavender's Greek seasoning. I absolutely love that. Make sure you're continuing to keep that bacon moving so it doesn't burn. I actually prefer to cut up my bacon and just do it in a little saucepan like this when I'm doing small bacon bits rather than cutting it later. It's always easier that way for me. You see here, Claire is helping me out by stirring that pot a little bit. She had a heck of a time. Once that bacon and chicken's done, we're just going to take it out and set it off to the side. We're going to go ahead here and mix together the spinach, the eggs, the cottage cheese, the Parmesan cheese, and so, we're just going to mix that all together. I didn't quite have as much spinach as the recipe calls for. For a regular portion size of this recipe, it's going to be about 5 ounces of spinach. And I was tripling the recipe. I ended up with only about 5 ounces of spinach. The recipe calls for frozen. I used just fresh spinach. I just chopped it up and it worked great for me. So, kind of however you want to do that. But what we've got here is we're just mixing this together. It's a little bit hard to mix. I probably wouldn't use a whisk if I was to do this again. You'll see that it kind of got stuck in the whisk. Maybe just use a fork or, a spoon to mix that up. But you're just trying to get it pretty well mixed up. And it's totally fine here that this is kind of a dry mixture. So it's going to stay like that. So then we're just going to add that mixture to the spaghetti and get in there with your hands if the spaghetti noodles are cool enough to do that at this point. It almost seems like there's not enough of this mixture to fully coat the spaghetti, but if you mix it enough, it actually ends up being a pretty good mix to that spaghetti. Again, I might have used a little bit more spinach if I was going to do this again. I couldn't really taste the spinach in the final recipe, which may be a good thing for some of you if you don't like spinach. I kind of like the flavor that it would have given this particular recipe. You'll see actually in here I also just kind of started chopping the spaghetti up because we're going to be spooning these into muffin cups here in just a little bit. So that's why I said to break the spaghetti before you cook it. I ended up, chopping it a little bit, but at times it was kind of hard to get into these little cups because the spaghetti is still so long. So maybe break that up into thirds before you go ahead and cook it there. Another mistake I made was that I did not grease these muffin pans before I did it. That made it a little bit hard to get out. So the next thing that we're going to do once we've gotten those muffin cups about half to 3/4 of the way filled is we're going to put some cream of chicken into a bowl, and we're going to then go ahead and mix that up. So we're to this cream of chicken, we're going to go ahead and add some chive and onion cream cheese here. So we're just going to throw that on top. We're going to mix this stuff all together here and give it, this is going to end up being a nice, really creamy mixture that we're going to put on top of all of that spaghetti there. So we're just going to get this chive and onion cream cheese into there, and we're going to mix that up as well. Then we're going to go ahead and pour in about a cup of water on top of that. And it doesn't get too watery. It actually looks like it's very watery right now. It does actually turn quite a bit more creamy once you kind of finish mixing this up. It's a little bit hard to mix and not spill this, but you just continue to mix that up until it's just a nice creamy mixture. And then once we are done there, we're going to actually start to add in the chicken to this mixture. So the chicken's going to go in with this cream. And we're going to put also some chopped up sun-dried tomatoes. I would suggest chopping those a little bit finer than I did. I honestly got tired of chopping those. Then we're also going to put about a cup of freshly done mozzarella cheese. We're going to throw in all of that chicken that we made there, and we're just going to mix that in. And in my opinion, you can't really use too much chicken in this. So once we get that all mixed together with a little bit of that bacon, about half of the bacon, we're going to spoon it onto those and then go ahead and throw them in the oven. Again, make sure that you spray those muffin foils there, because this did not come off easily because I forgot that step. Once this is done, it's going to be done once it sets. So once that top kind of sets a little bit there, it is still going to be creamy, but it's going to be about done once it sets. And you can see, again, it didn't quite come out of those muffin things quite as easy as I would have liked, but I was able to get it out even though I didn't spray them. And this just turns out looking absolutely phenomenal. And we throw a little of those bacon bits on top, and I had so much left over I made 2 pans of the muffins, and then I also made a casserole and just stuck it in the freezer. So now someday in the future I've got that, I can just pull it right out of the freezer, let it thaw, and then stick it in the oven for a little while. And this recipe again was absolutely amazing. It was also one of my favorites. It was a great recipe to start off this term with. Well, that's all I have for today. Again, make sure to hit that like and subscribe. Let me know if there's any content that you'd like to see coming up. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day.